Hi guys, welcome to the channel. In today's episode we have got an eclectic mix of stuff to discuss. Some new products, some products in development, some prototypes and some fresh ideas. Now, straight off the bat, you're not going to like everything you see in this video, I've got to be honest, because I've tried a few different things. Some have worked, some haven't, but some have, well, all of them really have given me new ideas, and I think that's really important. So, a quick scan over what we're looking at today. We've got a new bumper from Allisport that we're going to be test fitting onto the Defender. We've got a prototype grille that no one's seen before. Well, you might have seen it in some of the previous episodes in the background, but we're going to just talk about it a little bit today. I go ahead and paint the binnacle. So I'm going to strip the binnacle down on the Defender and paint the rings, and you'll be horrified at the colour that I've chosen. But make sure you watch till the end, because we don't stick with that colour. We do make some changes, so that's all worth doing. I think there's a couple of other things. So obviously the Defender's due to go to paint on Thursday. Probably when this video is going to come out, to be fair. It's going to paint, so obviously I've been stripping that down, so I'll give you a quick look at that as well. So quite a lot to look at, and hopefully you're going to find something you really like. So let's get stuck in. First thing I'm going to do is check out this bumper. Here we have got our new bumper for the 90. It's from Allisport and it's aluminium, look. Really lightweight. I thought it'd be interesting to see what it weighs. So under just over 4 kilos. I'm thinking that's probably a quarter of a steel one. Right, let's see what a standard bumper weighs. Oh. So, not a quarter. I must have just been feeling weak, but definitely half the weight of a regular bumper. Right, quick test fit of the Allisport bumper. I'm really liking that. And I think because it's a little bit slimmer on the ends, it's going to make everything look a lot nicer underneath. So when we get our steering guard on there, it's all going to come together. So they taper back slightly, but from the front profile, just virtually the same, but a lot lighter. So one of the other things we want to do on the Defender is fit the Mantec steering guard. It's one of our sort of core launch products for the brand, and it is a little bit of a tricky thing to fit on a later Defender because some of the access to some of the bolts is really hard. But you'll see from this next video that I really did struggle getting some of the bolts out, even on a newer Defender. Obviously we don't really appreciate that that's 15 years old. And I really did struggle getting some of the bolts out. So hopefully this will help you if you're doing something similar. If you're fitting one of our steering guards to any kind of Defender, to be fair, you might have to do this job as well. So we did manage to get the steering guard on, and it looks fab, and you'll see I'll talk about these prototype bumperettes in a second, but this is the bolt that we really struggled with. So let me talk you through what we have to go through to actually get that replaced. So this is the bolt that we finally managed to get out of the chassis. Now this is the bolt that passes through into the chassis, passes through the support bracket for the power steering. Now this end here actually sheared off when we were undoing it, so there was no way of getting it out. I had to just heat it up, knock it through, and you can just see, so these threads here show you the actual thickness. And I thought it was originally a bolt like this because of the size of it, but when you actually compare it to the bolt that you're supposed to put in, the shaft is a lot thicker, and I think I'm going to struggle to get that back in the hole. So I've got to try and somehow drill out that hole again, or clear it of all the corroded material that's left in there, because that's probably just fused itself onto the inside of the hole. You see, it's still quite tight because it's just a load of crud in there. So I'm going to try and push it out, and then I've got some drill bits. I'm going to try and step my sizing a little bit. Oh, look. Now realistically, I think the only way I'm going to get that in there is by knocking it through from this side. Okay, we're in.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
Putting the Mantic steering guard on the Puma, things were a little bit out of line at the front here, so I had to use a nibbler just to open up that whole touch. And it is something you might have to do if you're buying the actual steering guards at the moment. Now, you'll just see underneath here, we've got these black plates. Now, this is a prototype idea that we're thinking of, and the idea is because of the way materials have come on so much in the last 30 years from when this was designed, we're going to be going with a thinner steel plate. It's a special grade of steel which won't corrode, and also that'll give us a lot more of a weight saving, but it's a lot stronger. And to reinforce the actual plate itself and to give it a bit more of a frictionless feel to it. So when you're off-roading, if you do catch anything, it's not going to gouge into the material. We're going to be adding some nylon bumpers here. Now these aren't as thick as they will be in production, so they're actually going to be 3 times as thick as this, so they're going to be sticking out quite a bit. But the idea is they're going to take an impact, so they're frictionless, they're also highly impact resistant, and they won't crack, they'll just deform. But the key, and I've always said this about the Mantic steering guard, the key structural component is this plate. You could do away without this guard, and honestly, you would still get the benefit of all the protection, but it's nice to have something that's clean, keeps dirt off the vehicle, keeps mud from entering the steering damper area and everything. So for that reason, that's why we've got the plate. It's not necessarily there to act as a sort of protection, if you like, against damage. That's what this steel piece is for behind it. And that's what you don't get with a lot of steering guards. They're just for show. Whereas this one, it's got some purpose to it, but also the design of the front is aesthetically pleasing. And we hope to accentuate that with these thicker bumperettes. So I'm going to get our new bumper on there now and see just how it sits. So you can see how lightweight it is. I'm hoping it's going to clear my towing eyes. That's my biggest fear. And it does. Brilliant. So we can still get access to those towing eyes. So we're still practical from an off-road perspective. Just temporarily dropping the bolts in so it doesn't fall off. So you can see we've got these slight angles up on that bumper, so they sort of taper up for more ground clearance, but I think it gives it a nice sort of aggressive stance. Then we're protecting our steering damper there, or our steering linkages, with the Mantic steering guard. And these are the bumperettes. Now it's a shame we can't see just how aggressive they're going to look when they're their full thickness, but I do think that's going to be quite a nice little touch on the new version 2 Mantic steering guard. You saw it here first. Now, obviously, I'll talk about the grille a little bit while it's on the vehicle, and you can see there, this is the new mesh that we've included. So we've used the same frame, the 3-dimensional frame that we have made for our Nighthawk grille, but we've just opted for a different mesh. So this is a woven mesh, not a stamped out mesh like the Nighthawk grille is. And this is all made in the UK, so this is handmade mesh. Now, I will show you how this is all made in a future episode when we've got the final production units here. This is a prototype, we welded this ourselves, so it's all very rough, but I think you'll agree, looking at it on the vehicle, it looks really cool. So yeah, this will be another option. So you can go for the Nighthawk grille, which is this one here, or you can go for this Hunter grille, and I'll do a video as soon as they're in stock, so you know, because the last ones I think sold out in about 2 weeks. So yeah, that's the grille. So what else have we got to do? Right, let's have a look at these binnacles. So one of the things I want to do on the Defender is try and maintain or continue that theme of the little details in yellow, and I didn't really want to go to change too much on this binnacle, but I had an idea that maybe these silver dials could be painted in yellow just to give it a little touch, and that would sort of go well with the yellow stitching, the yellow on the Momo steering wheel, etc. So this is actually an old unit, and I thought I'd have a go at taking this one apart first in case I make a mess of it. But so far it looks pretty easy. So all I've done is just release the clips for this black screen housing here, and that just lifts off, so that's pretty simple. Now surprisingly, this panel here will just lift off. So you want to make sure that you don't sort of like mess with those dials, because they are all calibrated, and that isn't something you want to do. But then we've got this Now, if you look at the back, we've actually just got some very little tiny clips. And what I was going to try and do was pop these out, and it doesn't look like it's that hard to do. I haven't done it yet, so it might be, but from what I can see, it's pretty simple. So, if I take these out, like so, and literally, you've got that left. So you could paint that. We're not going to, but you could. So now I've got these free, all I'm going to do is just literally scotch them up lightly with a scotch cloth, just to give them some key. And then I'm simply going to spray paint them yellow. I'm going to get a colour that matches the Momo colour. And then hopefully it all should look quite nice when it comes to the stitching. Now, if you saw a previous video, when we did our Loft brake conversion, we actually painted our calipers in this yellow. Now this is Porsche yellow, so I should be able to get this in an aerosol form and match it. So let's see if we can get that. Well, as you can see, I've got my dials painted in Porsche Speed Yellow, which I'm hoping is going to be a nice match for the Momo steering wheel and the detail on the stitching. This is our original binnacle, which is in good shape, but it is a little bit dirty. So I've just gone around it with my brush just to try and loosen off some of the dust, and that's come up quite well. But I have noticed on my original binnacle there's quite a lot of scratches on there, and I think this one's probably better as far as condition goes. So I'm actually going to use the binnacle sort of cover from this one for ours, get it cleaned up, because that's like our donor one. So tomorrow we'll get them installed, get it put together and see what it looks like. Right, so it's the next morning. This is all nicely dry, so I'm just going to gently push these down. That was easy. Okay, and then we'll get our cover on. 2 hands for this one. I am expecting genuinely lots of haters on this, and I totally understand if you don't like it. I'm not even sure if I like it yet, so we're all on the same page. But actually, what I was interested in is, going home last night, I was thinking, what other colours could you do that would make a noticeable difference? And actually, doing it in gloss or matte black might be a really nice touch as well. So if the yellow's too strong, like I say, we still have the old one there. I can still paint another set of rings. So I'll see how this looks. I live with it for a little bit, and if I hate it, I'm going to go for black. But let's get it on the vehicle and just see if that dulls it down a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm kind of getting Nissan Duke vibes off this. So I just don't know. I think part of it, I don't know if it comes up on camera, but the colour, it's not quite dark. It's just too pale a yellow. It's not a deep enough, rich enough yellow. But it might grow on me. So we're going to leave it there for a bit and see how it blends in with everything else. And like I say, if it's no good at all, we'll probably matte black those other rings and get them switched over and see what that looks like. But I think it's a worthwhile video to show you guys, even if you hate the yellow, just in case, I don't know, you might want to paint your own dial rings to match your interior. You might want to tone it down, might want to go a bit stealth. Body colour's always an option, but you can do it. It's easy to do, and it's not too frightening taking everything apart. But I've done it for us. We'll see. And do you know what? I'm looking at it now, and actually I don't mind it quite so much. The longer I look at it, the more I'm all right with it, because there's going to be a lot of black in here. It's going to be a very dark place. Obviously we've got no roof on at the moment, so it's a lot lighter. But if you imagine everything's darkened off, yeah, we'll see. So there you go. That is how you do that, should you want to. Okay, so I couldn't really wait, and it's not that I don't like the yellow completely, but I do want to explore some options, and I thought you guys might also, in this video, like to see black in a unit. So if I click my fingers, here is one I prepared earlier. So there we go, and do you know what? I'm really liking that. I think the black is just a subtle enough touch to draw the eye away. So if I'm honest, I think we're probably going to go with black, but I'm going to leave the yellow on there. The truck is ready to go to paint on Thursday, and because we've got Lucari retrimming these in leather with yellow stitching, I'm just going to take these off now, and then we can get them off to Lucari. And I think it's just a case literally of undoing these bolts here and at the top. Right, the 2 long screws were for the handle, and that literally just comes off. And there's a culprit there, look, for our spider webs. That needs a good clean. And then this one obviously just came off as well, to be fair. There we are. I think on the market there are some quite nice little cubby boxes we could replace that with, but getting it all exposed is nice because we can clean it and also we can get all this trimmed. So Lucari actually do a 4-piece trim kit, which means you get this top piece, the handle, the binnacle, and also the piece underneath the binnacle. We're not going to replace that bit, we're just going to have the 3-piece set. And as I said before, it's in black leather with yellow stitching, which should match our wheels, suspension, little details, and also our new seats. When you're custom trimming a vehicle, you know, all the little details do matter, because if you forget to do one thing, it just, I don't know, it just distracts you from the whole effect you're trying to get. Anyway, I am going to leave those yellow dials on there for now. I'm pretty sure they're not going to stay. It's just where it goes. I'm going to replace them with some black ones, with these black ones, in fact, I think. But I'm going to leave them on there until we've got all the stitching done. It'll just be something fun to sort of like tweak and play with and see where we go. So, a few things in this video. I appreciate there's lots to look at, and you know, you might find something that you like. It's a little bit difficult for me at the moment because the Discovery 3 is finished. The Defender is stripped, ready for paint. There's nothing else I can do on that. And our 300 TDI is being worked on. There's some pictures here. You can see the radiator was absolute toast. Having a new radiator, the timing belt's done. I forgot to send my water pump, so that's there today. That is all being done this week, but I just don't have anything to play with. And it's going to take a couple of weeks, I think, until I've got a new project to work on, whether it be the Defender coming back from paint or the 300 TDI coming here, but it won't be long. I've got my little workshop back, which is kind of cool, so I might be doing some small trim projects, a few little details. So that's probably going to be the next video. So thanks very much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. It makes a big difference to me. And I'll catch you on the next one.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.